Hello, you're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate, a Bristol Bears podcast made by fans for fans. We're three friends who love the club, the game and all things Bears. Well, boys, we are back at our spiritual home, the Bristol Beer Factory Tap Room, and having reached our double century of episodes at the end of last season with our season review with our good friend James Dunn, we are now back for season 7. Unbelievable. And more importantly, we've got new equipment. Over the summer, as some people know, we crowdfunded some new microphones, some headphones, a mixer, mainly because of feedback of people saying they just couldn't stand the rain, the seagulls, the motorbikes
and things,
the crisps. We will talk more about this at some point, but just a very quick nod to all of those listeners that helped us source this material. But also, we have got a very, very, very special guest to help us road test this new equipment. And we'd like to welcome Bristol Bears CEO Tom Tainton to the Bristol Beer Factory Tap Room.
Thank you for having me on, gentlemen. I have to say, A, congratulations on your double century, but B, congratulations on the setup. I feel like I'm in the Talk Sports studio.
Well, it's essentially what you've come to is a podcast in a lock-in, because I mean, as you've now experienced, because we've had a chat beforehand, the Bristol Beer Factory is now closed, but we are still here, and we have a few little drinks to get us through it.
And I'm not lost as the working class kid here. I'm not lost on the irony of you two middle class ponces actually asking for crowdfunding to begin with.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to pay for it, so I mean, I'm not, I haven't got
He's
that much
teacher.
money.
Come on,
teacher, and I got 2 kids, but so yeah, I mean, we're kind of thrilled and excited to be able to give this a go. And I mean, to be fair, boys, the last time we wore headphones like this is when we were on the Jeff Twentyman show, wasn't it? And so we have done it a few times, but I think normally we have a mobile recorder in the middle of the table. It's fairly village, but why not? We thought we'd go for it. Anyway, Tom, you're here. We really appreciate you coming to help us kind of do our first, a preview pod, I guess, for the season. And, a few things have happened over the summer. Most importantly of all, I believe you've become a father.
Yes, yeah. So my wife, Amy, and I, we had our little boy called Otto over the summer. So he's 12 weeks old now. We're in the eye of the storm, but everything's going really well. And balancing the joys of a rugby off season with a new baby has been a fun challenge.
I don't know. I know I've got a question. I think you were going to ask it, Lee, but I've remembered. It's basically your son Otto, Lewis Rees-Zammit. Which arrival is the
which was the best signing of the summer? We're asking Tom.
Do you know what, boys? They were equally stressful. That week of the Lewis Rees-Zammit signing and the back and forth we had with his representatives and the murmurings in the press and on social media, like it had a very kind of football deadline day feel to it.
Wow.
So being able to get that over the line was a massive fillip for the club, and it's been it's had a real boost already.
Well, hopefully we may touch on that later, actually, because we did have a few questions about that whole thing. Yeah. I thought to kind of allow you to sort of warm yourself up a bit, although I'm sure you're very good at doing this sort of thing. We just thought it'd be interesting for you to just give us a quick potted history of your, like, I would say your rise to to this rapid rise to the CEO of Bristol Bears at a compared to us, a relatively sort of tender age.
You're a youngster,
and I mean, we've read obviously we've read stuff in the papers. You're Bristol born and bred. You've been associated with the club for a long, long time. But it'd just be interesting for us and our listeners to hear your story, as it were.
Yeah, well, much the same as you guys. I'm someone that cares deeply about the club. I grew up in the city, and my association with Bristol Rugby started back in 2011. And actually, my first day as a completely unpaid intern, I didn't actually know that expenses existed, so I was actually paying to go to go at that point. Was the same month that our chairman Chris Boy told the group of players at the time that there were going to be 50% pay cuts. This was after we lost to Exeter in the playoffs in 2010. So it was a real baptism of fire. But actually, those formative years were the best experience of working in professional sport and trying my arm at lots of different roles within the club. And this was prior to the Bristol Sport days as well. So I've been the team manager, I've done marketing, commercial, media, and actually what it gave me was a great foundation of understanding of what's required to work in pro sport. And it's brutal and it's unrelenting. And I think equally it's shown me what a good culture is and what a poor culture is. And I've seen both during my time in Bristol, and certainly since the Lansdowne family came in and we moved to Ashton Gate in 2014, things have really accelerated. And then when we rebranded to the Bears in 2018, that's when it really took off as a commercial entity and as a force on the field. And I can sit here with absolute certainty and say that the future for the club is very bright and very positive. So it's a nice position to be in.
Well, that's I agree that I do the intro question to give you a little warm up. But boys, I think I'm going to throw it over to the lads. I mean, we have a kind of plan, but I think we like to do. We just sort of freestyle through some questions and we're trying to kind of come from a perspective as fans, season card holders, and so on. So I don't know, Lee, do you want to go first?
Tom, you know me already now by now, but we already know about the corporate stuff that you do. I mean, it's already out there, and you speak eloquently on the club's behalf. As listeners, as fans, equal fans, what we want to know is, I know we've had a massive kind of influence on youngsters this season. A lot of fans are worried about that because we're asking a lot of young lads to step up and perform. Can you like, obviously you see on the training field every day what's happening. Like, is it in safe hands? Are we good?
It's a great question, and I think that we always talk about homegrown players being like a core part of what we want to do. But if you actually look at the last few years, have we really lived by that? And it wasn't until 18 months ago that we've really leaned into, let's have a squad that is smaller, that is younger, and let's focus on those homegrown players. And I guess my answer to your question would be that you referenced James Dunn earlier, Jack Bates. These are guys, George Kloska. These are guys that 2 or 3 years ago we might be looking at on the team sheet and thinking, how are they going to survive and cope at the top level of Premiership rugby? But all of them have shown that they are more than capable of not just competing but thriving at the top level. And you could argue that some of them should be in the shout for an England call up. So what it shows us is that the talent is there. They just need the opportunities, and I look at the next crop of youngsters that are coming through, and it's exciting, and there are guys that are going to be playing for Bristol in the next 2 to 3 years, and will hopefully be with us for a long time. And one thing that Pat and his coaching staff feel is very important is the cohesiveness of a group, and you want the same group of players to take you through. And you look at that lineup that's going to play against Leicester in a couple of weeks for our opening day of the season, and a number of those guys will be centurions, will be on the cusp of 100 appearances, and that's really, really important for us, that we've had a group that has gone all the way through our journey with us, and young Bristolian players or homegrown players are at the forefront of that.
And that's great. I mean, we did a Q&A with Pat a couple of years ago, and obviously at the forefront was Pat wanted Bristolian players to come through and play for England. Now, a massive thing is, like, Steve Borthwick doesn't play the way Bears play, right? We all know that. I wonder about the pathway of Bristol Bears players coming through and actually getting recognition for England. And, not initially, but, in the future. But I think most of our listeners are kind of worried about next season. I think we're about 6th, 7th, 8th in the betting. And obviously we all want to come top 4, tops, us. How do how do you kind of readdress our concerns about that for next year? Like, can you give us some names of guys that are coming through? It feels like we're asking a lot of young players to come in. I know we've got brilliant experience, but it feels like the youngsters need to come in and hit the ground running. Can you allay our fears slightly?
Yeah, well, look, last season that squad finished in the top 4, and you could argue that there were certain games, and off the top of my head, I think Gloucester at home, Saracens at home, where we might have gone better. I believe, and the guys at the Bears believe, that the squad we have this time around is stronger than last season. We've added strength with Tom Jordan, who's proven international quality. Yeah. We've added Luka Ivanishvili in the back row and Reece Samet in the back 3. So you think of the options we now have in that back line: McGinty, Randall, Van Rensburg, Jimmy Williams, Tom Jordan, Gabriel Ibitoy, the list goes on. Benjamin Elizalde's just been capped again on the weekend. Like there's a huge array of talent, and by the same token, those young guys are another year older. They have a little bit more experience under their belt. We feel really bullish about what the team can achieve next season. You're absolutely right to say, like, compared to those at the very top end of the table, your Baths and your Saracens and your Sale Sharks, etc. Like they absolutely have the depth and the quality and the experience. But what we have is we have a game plan and a system that, when it works, and as you've all seen, when it works, no one can stop us. And we've been doing a lot of work over the summer on some of those fundamentals, and there's bits and pieces around defence and set piece and kick receipt, and I think that if we can get those marginal things right, we will be a force to be reckoned with next season.
I'm so glad you said defence, because that's the biggest thing I think that we were all worried about. I think if we can tone in that defence, then, well, we already know we score a lot more tries than anyone else. So if we can get that defence right, I think we're happy.
Yeah, exactly that. And you know, defensive work, it's about system and it's basics and it's aggressiveness coming off the line. But a lot of our work in pre-season has been around tightening up in defence. Like it's no surprise to anyone that defensively we shipped points last year. Actually, our defence at set piece was excellent. Our set piece percentage success was very strong, and as you've just alluded to, in attack we were electrifying. So there's small bits of our game that we constantly need to improve and work on, but we've got a good group of boys and we've got a good group of coaches that have been together for a long time, and I think that if a few things obviously need to go our way next season, and there's key players that need to be available, but I think that we can compete with anyone in the competition.
I've got a little question on the back of that, is because you said that you've seen a bit of pre-season. It's like, I mean, I presume your office is at the HPC.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, do you nip out like at 10 o'clock? I'll just have a little look and see how the lads are getting on, and because I mean, obviously you and Pat must have a very good relationship, but does he get a bit tetchy if he sees the kind of the hierarchy sort of standing with a clipboard by the side of it? I don't know. I'm kind of interested in like your working day, really. Like, you know, do you feel like you've got to sort of just keep a little bit of a...
So my office and Pat's office is essentially has adjoining doors. So
it's revolving, so not a revolving door.
So we're very close. And yeah, I'll often nip out onto the balcony and watch a bit of training. And it's funny because pre-season is probably the only time that I watch the boys with a bit of envy, because the sun's out, the HPC's beautiful surface. They're running around playing condition games. It's when it gets to the middle of winter and it's brutally cold, and I'm like, no, that's not.
I assume you haven't gone to Portugal because you're here with us, are you, Tom?
No, we went to we had a team building weekend in Guernsey, where we were fortunate enough to spend some time with Steve and Maggie and the Lansdowne family, and meet everyone on the island, which was wonderful. And then the team have been in Portugal this week. They arrived back on Friday, and we go straight into Prem Cup next week against Sale, which will, as all Prem teams, will be treating it as part of our pre-season routine going into that Leicester game.
So I've just got another image just come to my mind of you on the balcony in the middle of winter. Please tell me you don't wear a dry robe watching the guys.
If you do, the interview is over.
Yeah.
Dry robe, and I've got Sweet Caroline.
Yeah. Oh, no. You know all the references.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
And a cockapoo? Yeah. Any chance?
No.
And a Tesla? No, right, let's just move on.
I guess off the back of that, very quick, fans might not appreciate, we've got the CEO on, and just briefly, what does your role involve? For sort of listeners, who on earth is Tom Tainton? What does he do? And he's got this office next to Pat. You know.
So I'm essentially responsible for the day-to-day operations, strategic vision of the business. So that's across ticketing, commercial, marketing. I work closely with the performance department around recruitment. We have what we call the contract committee. So that's myself, Gethin Watts, who's our head of recruitment, Pat as director of rugby, and Stu, who's Gethin's senior recruitment manager, and Pat Rodden, our head of finance. And we meet once a week and we talk through players and retention and where there might be opportunities on the market. And what's really, really important, and I know we'll talk about Lewis Rees-Zammit later in the conversation, but it was exemplified there. You need to have a really symbiotic relationship between your performance and operations departments, because sport is so reactive and can be really fluid. So you've got to be able to liaise quickly and efficiently. So like an average day, lots of meetings, lots of planning. Because of the nature of our business as part of the wider Bristol Sport Group, there's a lot of external stakeholders that are based down at the stadium. As I'm sure you guys are aware, there's always conversations ongoing about food and beverage and retail and hospitality and all the various bits and pieces about running a business in sport. But the data tells us that we're in a positive place. Our crowds are going up. Our audience is getting younger. However, we can't really sit here and pat ourselves on the back if we're averaging 21,000, because it means there's 5,000 empty seats every week, and that's £1 million of revenue on the table every year. But that's 5,000 fans and people across the city and the region who have yet to discover why rugby is so important and why Bristol Bears can be so impactful in the community. So really, that's in a nutshell, that's my job to help to grow that game.
And I have one quick question. So you're right next to Pat, you've got a doorway. Who line manages who? Is it a separate?
So
gets the coffees in.
Yeah.
Well, no one wants my coffees. I can tell you that. We both answer to the board. So we both answer to the board, and we answer to ultimately to Steve Lansdowne.
Cool, Lee.
Well, I was just going to say that's great that you have that relationship with Pat as well. I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit there.
Sorry, mate. I nipped in there. It was like a heads up rugby there. It was like a little offload that I was thinking about it, like, who. Oh, sorry, mate, but go for it. What was it?
I mean, I don't know. Miles, can you?
Should we ask another question
for a minute?
Should we ask Tom about?
Can I interject? Can I?
Yeah,
of course.
Something about Pat while we're on the subject.
Yeah.
I think that particularly last season, and it's well documented that we were the 8th lowest spenders in the league last year.
Yeah.
And I see obviously the what's in sport, when things are going well, you're a hero, and when things are not going so well, then you're under scrutiny and pressure. That is the nature of professional sport. I do think that Pat deserves a lot of credit for how he has turned round that group in the last 18 months to play the brand of rugby that we do and to win the games that we have. And we'll all acknowledge that we're not perfect and there's that next step to go. But I think that the foundations that have been set, that we're all sat around the table as custodians of a rugby club that we've been involved with for a long time and sat here thinking top four's the minimum expectation. Like, it shows how far we've come in a very short space of time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
The only one thing I would interject with that is the only real criticism we've had of Pat, not us, but as listeners, was when we deviated after the Quins game, the defeat none of us want to talk about. We played a different brand of rugby. And I think that's the only criticism then that any of us have had from Pat is just because we played a completely, we've been sold on a system and an ethos, and all of a sudden we were playing something different. And it, definitely the last 18 months, we were back to the Bears' way of playing. That kind of deviation, I think, just kind of upset a lot of people.
But I think, didn't Tom, I mean, you said it was basically the video analyst's fault, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's all his fault.
Yeah, so
I think you're right. You're right to note it, and certainly the way we were going prior to COVID, and then obviously after that semi-final against Harlequins, and yeah, there were 2.5 seasons where it wasn't the Bears' DNA, and we perhaps tried to play in a certain way that didn't necessarily suit the group of players that we had. But since we've gone back to basics and recognised where the genuine strengths in our squad are, and that is, being fast in transition, attacking, going round, going over, going through teams. I think you see that the players play with a smile on their face, the coaches coach with a smile on their face. And I think back to the semi-final against Bath last season, and even though we lost, going onto the pitch after the game with the players, I was so proud of that group, and I would have rather been in the Bristol camp and knowing that we gave it everything than the Bath camp, and credit to them. They did superbly well to go on and win, and they deserved that treble, but they had to resort to a box kicking game, pick and go around the corner to beat us. And I think that says a lot about our game and our young players.
Just out of interest, where a game like that, where do you sit at the rec? Out of interest, do they stick you right under, on the big old when it's right?
I'm right in the stand, right in the stand. Right in the mix at the rec.
Yeah, it's no, I always thought because there's nowhere to hide there, is there? That's the trouble.
No. How is that, Tom?
I'm actually my wife winces when she comes to games because I'm terrible to watch games with.
Thank goodness. I thought you were going to say she was a Bath fan for a minute, Tom. Oh, thank goodness.
I'm jumping up and down. I'm pacing. I would rather not go to the game and someone just text me the score because
that's
I know
exactly how I feel.
We feel the same.
I know how much it means, and I know how hard everyone has worked. And when we do lose or when we have a bad result, I can guarantee you that all of the staff and players, however bad the fans are feeling, the staff and players are feeling 10 times worse. So it means so much to us.
And we know that as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think should we look to the
move
future?
on? Yeah,
Let's
can
look
we
to the future.
move along to maybe season ahead, more than season ahead? I mean, you talked about, gaps in Ashton Gate fan base, and I just wondered really how do we fill Ashton Gate? Are there any innovations? You used to be obviously the media manager. What are the club doing to try and fill Ashton Gate? Any new innovations or prospects about getting fans on seats?
Yeah, absolutely. So fan engagement and tech is a big part of what we are continuing to do. You'll have seen that we run themed match days, which have been proven to be really successful. It's helped us to tap into different communities. And I think that something that has really been prevalent for me is that there are huge swathes of the city and communities that don't even know rugby, let alone know Bristol Bears. And I think that there is a massive opportunity to talk to different audiences. Rugby's kind of got in its own way a little bit in the past, but what I would say is that the new Prem Rugby executive and the alignment at league level and that governance and control is so much better than it's ever been. So I think there is now a concerted group effort to try and bring rugby to a wider audience. You'll see the innovations on TNT. I think the broadcaster do games very, very well. I think that Ashton Gate remains one of, if not the best match day in the season. And obviously I know that it divided opinion, but Big Day Out was a successful event, and I think Big Day Out put Bears on the map in a sense, and it showed people that this is a club that can bring real energy to the big stage, and to get 51,000 supporters to an event would have been unheard of. When I started, we were averaging 5,000 fans. So I think that there is a long way for us to go, but a lot of it is around how we talk to our audiences, how we engage with them, But that fan experience is paramount, because also we live in a fantastic city. We're all super proud of Bristol, and there's so many competing factors in entertainment and theatre and lots of things to do with the kids. So it can't just be a game of rugby anymore. You have to be able to come down, have locally sourced food and drink, spend some time with friends, know that it's safe and inclusive for your family, and also watch a game of rugby at the end of it. So that's a huge part of our mantra and what we do day to day.
We'll go to a big day out. That was on our agenda, but we'll go straight there now. So there was a little bit of division in the pod about big day out.
I'm well aware.
Yeah. So Miles and me,
2/3 of us went.
Miles, 2/3 of us went.
Loved it.
Why am I always the bad guy?
Yeah. So I'm
got five cans in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm about to open another one.
Tom, could you throw one of these over this one?
Yeah, well, let's get beers in.
He's not a lager drinker, Tom. We better swap.
Let's get ready for big day out.
Handing them around. You tell me what's what.
No, that's fine.
I love this. Right, can we do a ring pull together, Tom?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I like it.
Lovely.
No crisps though. Right. So big day out. Miles and me embraced it. Like we got over the whole it's not a home game in another country thing, and we kind of got over it's only 12 quid on the train sort of thing, and we had one of the best days of our life. I've got to say, it was a fantastic day.
What? You got 2 children. After them, it was the best day of your lives.
I mean, I'd forgotten about that. Actually, Tom, to be fair, it isn't. Yeah, you've got to remember that. Remember the birthday. Yeah?
The first day.
But the point I was trying to say, it was also everything came together that day. It was the sun was out. They closed off all of Cardiff. It was brilliant. It was a fantastic day. And then we found us. I don't know if you saw this, but we then. I mean, to be fair, 5 pints down, found ourselves right at the front of when all the players walked through, and we know Rich Berry quite well. And I was taking pictures of him with Brisley Bear, and suddenly all the players.
Safeguarding Pete.
Embarrassingly, I was like, "Right, boys," as they're going past, and but that just kind of that was part of the whole day. Now, and it was a brilliant, and obviously we won. Which was obviously you as the needed that to happen. We won it. So we were we did queue. I've got to say, we did queue for about an hour and a half to get home on the train, but it was still quite good fun. Lee has
issues. Your problem,
no.
Was it?
So we had a big debate in the pod about it. We went for it. And I think you may come back on a few things, but I mean, I feel like, Lee, you need to ask Tom, give your opinion on the big deal.
I mean, I was against it in principle because of the way that the club had actually dealt with it, because I felt that we'd already got season ticket orders on board. Wasn't mentioned at all at that point, and then it was added on. So exactly what you just said about like BS free, we got everything in the local community. I know what you're trying to do in terms of being inventive and innovative, and I love that. I do love that, but I feel the club could have done it a slightly different way, been more transparent. Was my thing. You boys had a lovely day out. I felt like it was taken away from the local community for a game, especially when people have already signed up for the season tickets, and they wanted to come to BS3, and all of a sudden you're asking them to go to Cardiff. Having said that, for next season, it's all been transparent and we know exactly what we're doing, and I'm all in for that.
Hang on. You said you're all in. Just all right.
That came on top of obviously moving people from the South Stand, and I kind of feel like we're all in the same boat, and we're all sat around this table and we all have one collective goal, and that's for Bristol Bears to be successful. I feel mistakes have been made, over the last probably 12 months. But I do feel, actually, looking you in the eye, I do feel like we're on the same page now. We're rectifying these mistakes. I absolutely love the fact that you've owned up and said, we have made mistakes, and that's huge, I think. And I feel next season or this season it will be completely different. My one worry is that it's against Gloucester.
No.
Quins.
Oh, mate.
Oh,
Quins.
dear.
That's exactly my point. because I feel it should have been against Gloucester.
I don't think it was their fault. Well, Tom will tell us about this.
You're right. I think you'll probably tell us about this, but I think, funnily enough, we all expected Gloucester and Gloucester Hartbury women, who we'd had, a fantastic rivalry against. And I'm not going to deny I was slightly disappointed to find out it was Quins. But perhaps tell us how that came about, or were your hands tied a little bit about the team?
Yeah. So firstly, to your point, and thank you for raising it, and I completely respect where you're coming from, and I validate your point, because it was a bit of a perfect storm over the last 2 years in that the South Stand move, it was disruptive. The reality was we didn't have a choice. It was almost a bit of a pulling off the Band-Aid. The reason that we had to relocate the fans from the upper tier down into the lower tier was because we felt it was really important to create that full lower bowl atmosphere. And you've probably seen last season the number of times we've been able to open the Atio. It has genuinely enhanced the match day experience.
Yeah, that's been great.
And I think you're right to note the big day out point around when it did go out. And we had some challenges around when contracts were signed, and there were some NDAs and there were things that couldn't be said, but I completely take that on board. What I would say, before we sort of talk about the mechanics of big day out, and I'm genuinely interested to hear your opinion. You guys are knowledgeable about the club, and you articulate where things have gone well and where perhaps things can be better on a week-to-week basis. So the commercial realities of running a rugby club, right? So we want a team that can compete at the top level. So therefore you need to invest in your team. By the same token, we want to have a season ticket and a match day ticket price that is competitive, that allows us to grow the game and not put people off. So we're trying to balance something that's a bit of a paradox. We want the best players, but we want to be able to give fans the best value season ticket in the league, which we do year on year. So we have to find a way to plug this shortfall. Steve Lansdowne isn't going to be around forever, and what Steve and the Lansdowne family have done for not just Bristol Bears but sport in Bristol is absolutely incredible. Absolutely. And he is personally funding the club to the tune of £2 to £3 million a year. So we have to find every possible avenue to try and grow revenue, and taking a game to the Principality and the simple mathematics of it, of a sellout crowd at Ashton Gate at 26,000 or 51,000 customers at supporters, paying customers, whatever you want to call them, at the Principality. Like there is a clear commercial benefit to us taking that game.
Can I just interject?
Yeah.
How much was that benefit?
Without going into specifics, it would be significantly more than our biggest game at Ashton Gate. Significantly more. So my question to you guys would be like, what would you? And it's an interesting debate. What would you do? Like, where is the like? Would you increase ticket prices? Like, because we have to stay competitive. So you wouldn't want a game across the bridge, and I totally respect and understand that. So what are the levers that we can pull to really grow revenue?
So I just to clarify, because there's a lot of debate on forums and things like people saying, how can you make money? So presumably the way it works is that the WRU gave you a price for the stadium, and then you sell the tickets, and then I presume, did we make any money out of the food and drink and stuff like that?
So we had a profit share agreement where it was just a percentage split.
And I think it's really clear, because there was a lot of debate, and I'm sure you see it because you look at the forums, that people are saying a lot of unevidenced stuff about how can they make money because blah blah blah. Now I've always thought, well, you just have to kind of we don't know. But it's interesting that you're saying that.
But I get it, and I think supporters and fans, that we're all passionate about Bristol, and we're all passionate about the Bears, and the supporters that were upset about a game in Cardiff I was never looking at those comments and thinking that was an unjust view. No. They have every right to feel how they feel about their rugby club. All I can say is, out of full transparency, that the realities are, was it commercially successful for the club? Absolutely, and it was significantly, and we'd expect it to be the same again. And is this one of the levers that helps us grow the game and increase our revenue, it does. And I don't want to be in a position where we're saying it's 15-20% increase on season tickets and match tickets, because that's not who we are as a business.
I think that's fair. I appreciate your honesty on that. But I have a supplementary question on that, is going back to Lewis Rees-Zammit, which we talked about. I mean, I know that, I presume that kind of happened quite quickly. He made that announcement. Suddenly, a lot of Premiership clubs, I imagine, we're like re-looking at their budgets, their recruitment. Was the factor, the Welsh factor, something in that? The fact that we could then, even if it's for a year, on the back of the success of the big day out, by signing Lewis Rees-Zammit, and I have no idea, obviously, what money or whatever, and I wouldn't even ask you that there was a thought that actually might also pump or promote a few Welsh fans from Cardiff to come over to Bristol to watch home games.
Well, absolutely. Look, we saw the benefit of Ilona Maher last year on the women's side and the impact that she had. The players like Lewis and opportunities like Lewis are rare in sport, because Lewis transcends rugby. He has a genuine audience. And it also helps that he's a fantastic player. Like, he's a British and Irish lion.
He's a genuine world-class player.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the thing.
So when the opportunity to certainly to put our best foot forward and try and get Lewis, like, we knew that absolutely he was going to add value to us on the pitch. And first and foremost, that is the priority. Like, we would never sign a player to be this kind of celebrity commercial vehicle. They have to contribute. But it absolutely helped that he comes with such excitement. And the night that we announced him, he was wearing the classic blue and white. We sold out in overnight online.
Is there stock available still?
Well, we do need to take you to Tainton.
We've got so many things. Luckily, we've got enough beers, boys. This is a proper lock-in. We're going to be here till about 2 a.m.
It could be like a 5-hour pod.
And we sold a good number of season tickets overnight as well. And we've seen interest on the Welsh side of the bridge. And the Principality game, to go back to Big Day, it genuinely isn't some sort of malevolent plan to capture Welsh audiences. You'll have seen with the Premiership rugby strategy, the big game strategy, and the reason why Gloucester wasn't a possibility for us this year is because they've taken a game to Villa Park against Leicester.
Absolutely, I saw that.
On the same day, So, 1 o'clock kickoff at Villa Park against Leicester Tigers. We've got the 3:30 slot, the 3:05 slot. So I think that there is a push from the league there's a push from the broadcaster to create these big events, and the proximity to Cardiff, I totally understand. It's not in Bristol, but the proximity to have a stadium of the size and quality of the Principality and the experience that we were able to give to supporters, Bath and Bristol, who travelled. And this time around, we're gonna do it even better. There's a double header, but we're gonna have live music and entertainment in the streets. It's going to be like a real carnival atmosphere, and I want people to come and feel like it's a full Bears takeover for one day. And it's.
And I should say, Tom, as well. I mean, it did transcend Devon as well, because my mate Paddy,
he came up from Devon, didn't he?
Chiefs fan.
Chiefs fan from Columpton Rugby Club. They all
and my mate Carl Bennett, they were in the same coach. That's the weirdest thing.
So it transcended, not just Bristol. It was, they all came up with 60 of them on the coach.
Absolutely,
and they loved it.
Well, we're like.
Yeah, I would like to just add to Pete. I'm going to fully take my hat off to the success of Big Day Out, and I'm going to give the club and you and everyone a huge pat on the back. The weather helped a lot. There were beers flowing, and I'm not going to die that. But I thought that the fans who made it there, I agree, that was potentially one of the best. You could say, call it a home, call it an away game. It was one of the most successful, enjoyable games I have been to for many a year. The closing off street, the choice of the stadium. Well, let's forget the transport, because that's out of our hands.
Tom, did you know that we got on ITV as well for that? We were. We've got a nice relationship with those Premier Highlights boys, and it was a disgrace. That was
I totally see where you're coming from as a club. You know, the London clubs have been doing this for a number of years, haven't they? The Quins, the Saracens, they're taking over the big stadiums in London. And you're right, we haven't got that stadium large enough in Bristol. And Cardiff is not that far away. And I would just encourage fans next year.
Miles, are you trying to get a job?
Yeah, no, totally. But you know,
wait a minute, Miles,
it's been announced. Yeah,
I'm taking you to task. We haven't got a stadium big enough. We've got a 26,000.
Well, I know,
stadium,
but it would okay.
Bristol.
But as Tom alluded to, we filled 51,000 seats.
Yeah,
right.
And
I get it. So do you get that?
I reckon we need to draw.
Yeah.
Big day out.
So we are. I think Pete and I, at least, are thoroughly looking forward to the event and Lee potentially next season. Tom,
I booked a Premier in.
If Lee comes, I want to see the picture outside Cardiff Central. Lee of his Bears flag.
On that note, and I know you are very left field, and I know you're really progressive, and I love that. What's next? Apart from Gloucester, because I know you wouldn't just be seeing next season, this season. You'll be thinking in the future. I know you're a big NFL fan as well. By the way, what team do you support?
Well, I'm a Jets fan.
So we have this debate.
So that's how committed I am to the pod, because right now we're playing the Steelers. So.
Yeah. So can I just interject here, because I'm not an NFL. Apologies.
No, neither am I.
And I make the joke like Tony, TC used to be. He was like, "What is he? I don't know." And I used to say, what part of Miami did you grow up in then? Or what part of Cleveland have you come from?
I've loved Jets since Chad Pennington was throwing his...
Mate, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I know.
But I do know, I have seen stuff on YouTube of those massive student NFL games, and it is mental. And Enter Sandman.
American sports do... the fan experience piece really well, which I'm a student of the game. I enjoy it. I'm fascinated by the commercial machinations of live sport, and I think that the US has an attitude to sport that it is entertainment first. So to answer your question, what next for the Bears? Well, we feel like the sky's the limit. We've got a great community. We've got an unbelievable group of combination clubs that are passionate about rugby. Yeah. I'd love to see us take the game overseas. I think that there are huge opportunities in different hemispheres. I think that's a long-term aspirational goal for both us and the Premiership. It'll be interesting to see what happens post 2028 with the Club World Cup and all of the conversations that are happening around the league. But when it comes to change, or when it comes to innovation, we want Bears to be at the forefront of that. Yeah. So we want to be seen as a club that is willing to take risks, and as we've said, not always get things right. But if we were sat here as a 4 or 5 years from now, and we've gone through the Premiership seasons, and we've played Northampton, and we've played Gloucester, and all that, then I've failed at my job. The job really is twofold. It's to grow the game, and it's to create and support the performance guys in creating a squad that can win, because winning ultimately leaves the legacy. If we win silverware, that's the quickest way for us to grow the game.
Mate, when we won the European Challenge Cup, Miles was in a trolley, an Asda trolley, being pushed home by Lee in a pram. So that's the sort of level that we've got.
So that is overdue. So
if it was Premiership, the Premiership title, or the European Champions Cup, I fear that there could be uproar in Southville of Miles in
being pushed home from Twickenham back to Bristol.
And why not?
And that is, you've got to remember that has got to be on your wall, that we need to win the Premiership to see what sort of vehicle Miles will be in, drunk on his way home.
Can you remember when Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and the mayhem that was caused after that? Imagine the streets of South like that.
Right, I've got a quick question. Joking aside. For fan engagement, and again, I know you famously have been in the press. I know you did a thing in the Telegraph 2022, so I did my research where you were, but it was a great article with Charlie Morgan talking about why should people not boo when it's kicking and all this sort of stuff, and I think it's brilliant. So here's my question for you: lookalike cam, Simba cam, wave cam. Rank them in order, please.
Okay, so I love Simba Cam.
I bet you do now. You do now. You try to get. I'll tell you what, Tom. Trying to lift Miles up on Simba cam is a nightmare.
But all joking aside, I think that what I don't want to be seen as is a guy that is constantly parroting about young audiences and new audiences, because there is a huge swathe of extremely well educated and knowledgeable Bristol fans that have been around for a long time, that know the game, are passionate about the game and want to enjoy the game. And I sense that when we rebranded, there was perhaps a feeling that group was being pushed aside because the club only had eyes for this new vision of audience. And that's absolutely not the case. Like, we need to, and I think we have done a better job of striking an appropriate balance between what is appealing and compelling to families, family day, combination day, etc., but equally what the true dyed-in-the-wool Bristol fan wants to see. And ultimately that is, I want to have a good beer, I don't want to queue too long, and I want to watch a team that can compete. So Simba Cam, I know I'm sure there's a few people that wince when it comes up, but equally you see how many people are lifting their kids up and laughing and filming the big screen. So
I should come nice to okay, because we love lookalike cam, but they're like, I don't know. I feel like I'm putting you on the spot because there's been, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3, 4 over the season last year. Like, what was your? In fact, no, it was. Yeah, what was your favourite one?
Oh wow, you are putting me on the spot
because I know mine, but I'm going to ask you what your favourite one.
Do you know what?
I can't remember.
I barely focus on anything.
No, I bet. I feel it's a bit of a harsh one. So as a season,
you're pacing up in that.
Yeah. Because you're okay. I mean, Miles. I mean, when we played Australia, I'm pretty sure there was Dame Edna Everage.
Classic.
That was a
John
classic.
Lennon.
But there was
Classic.
John Lennon. John Lennon was the best ever. But I've got to say, and if I don't know if they're under your remit, but the last one they had Bob the Builder. But it was a guy that was dressed as Bob the Builder. That's not the same.
He must have got a tip off.
I thought that was a very cheap lookalike cam. So just a bit of feedback. Just a bit of feedback for the lookalike cam department. They've got to find someone that like isn't dressed up as somebody. But anyway.
And on a different note, where's Brisley, Tom?
He's been there. Yeah. He's on fire.
I heard about him because we missed him for a few
He's there.
He's definitely there.
More importantly, why is he not doing one arm press ups? And I think you've got maybe
that I can't.
Anyway,
can I ask a question, Pig?
Let's have a serious question now, quickly.
You talk about growing the game. We talked about big day out, potentially going abroad in the future, and we've done remarkably well, I think, as a club and innovation through hopefully yourself. We had South Africa in 2023. We had. And let's not beat around the bush. A rather dismal game against Australia, Seas, and a B team in 2024. We've got fantastically the Pumas in 2025. Pete will ask this: can we ever expect New Zealand in 2026?
Well, that would be the big one. Like the way that it works with these exhibition games is the international touring sides that come over in November. You sort of have to bid for the teams, and obviously being able to have an All Blacks or a New Zealand Maori side at Ashton Gate would just be incredible. South Africa set the tone. The second year we actually had the Crusaders, if you guys remember, and it was the Crusaders
we do.
Game was excellent with the haka.
Yeah.
I think you're right to say Australia was disappointing because even though we had 16,500, we would have hoped that we would have got closer to 20. Yeah. And then the Queensland Reds game was bitterly disappointing for a number of factors around.
I think the team have, rightly so, said that the timetabling was hindered them on that occasion, didn't they? And
it did, but it's
I think you held your hands up.
On the other hand, I managed to have a chat with Michael Liner.
We did. We got an interview with Michael Liner. We loved it.
There was literally no one there, so I just went and chatted to them. So that was good.
I commend you've been really transparent this year about the Pumas, that it won't clash with other Premiership club and cup size, and that's been great. But
and sales have started really well for the Argentine. I just think like Friday night games at Ashton Gate, when you've got an international team, irrespective of whether it's a first team or a Pumas 15, like that Felipe Contepomi and those guys are there. There's a bit of colour to it, and these are the sort of games that will go down in the scrapbooks, and you'll remember them for years to come.
I think, I agree. And actually, it's just reminded me of something, and I got to put you on the spot because just before, I think, hang on, it was just before that South Africa game. That was when we had the November the 5th firework spectacular. Now, I don't know whether you remember this,
spectacular.
Tom, I need to remind you this because you were on the Jeff Twentyman show, and Jeff, who's obviously a great guy, I was listening, and Jeff asked you about what was going to happen at the South Africa game, and you gave the full kind of big, and it was a great thing. And you were saying, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. And this had come on the back of, obviously, you remember, a relatively damp squib. And also the fact that anybody sat in the dolman didn't see the thing. So I actually texted into Jeff during that show.
I remember.
Yeah, and Jeff, I knew that he would read it out because he loved us. And he said, oh, Pete has just read it. And you were like, it's like, brilliant. It sounds great, Tom, but are there going to be fireworks? And so I appreciate you took it very well because it was a bit cheeky. I've got to say, it was quite cheeky because I knew Jeff would read it out. But my point is so if there are fireworks, are they going to come off the Lansdowne as well?
Yeah, look, again, when we talk about trying to be innovative, a lot of the stars have to align for everything to never.
I know, and it was a terrible night. It was a terrible night.
Pouring down, and I think we ran them off the dolman when we were meant to run them off both the dolman and the Atio. So I think we also lost in a really terrible game that day. Max Malin scored from halfway. So one to forget.
But, as fans, we love that sort of thing. We absolutely loved moaning about that. It was like it gets my goat for about a year.
Fireworks, Bobblegate.
Oh, well, well, we reckon we might have even started Bobblegate, although...
You did start Bobblegate, yeah. You did, yeah. Oh! Yeah. I remember it vividly, yeah. But in the early days, that was season 1, I think.
That was very early. But anyway, I mean, that was... we appreciate... there are a lot of, as you rightly say, there's a lot of things that have to come together. Lee, you had a question.
Right. My question is, Tom, this is a serious question. When is the home shirt going to be available? Because I'm going to Malta on Thursday morning, right? Is there any way you can swing it that I can... I would love to be wearing the new shirt in Malta, sat on the old the sunbed and representing Bristol Bears.
Well, I'll give you some breaking news for your podcast. We're launching the home shirt on Tuesday evening, and it'll be available for pre-order. And I think fans are going to really like it.
Okay.
Wait. I was talking about me though, Tom.
Where's your flight?
I will make sure one's personally packaged and FedExed over to Valletta.
All right. Can you give us any more information? Is it going to be hoops, traditional?
Oh, you're going to have to wait and see.
But it's not long to wait, is it?
You're going to like it. It's another nod to a shirt and a style that is iconic for Bristol.
And so that means we've got to get this pod out before Tuesday.
No pressure on the edit.
I mean, I don't know, boys. I'm just looking at me timing.
I get a little bit of question off the back of that. Sorry, I nipped out.
Quick question. I thought
quick question.
You do one more, and then we'll have. I've got a very, very short number of quick fires, Tom. We like a quick fire,
absolutely,
and then maybe that will wrap it up.
So I guess off the back of the sort of shirt. I didn't know what you answered, but I gather Pete. Lee's holiday might be
just listeners. Miles went to the toilet.
Yeah,
Can I just say that the only people that haven't gone to the toilet so far is Tom and myself.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's move on.
So I guess regarding the kit, the shop, how much fans want? How much influence do you, Bristol Rugby, have over Bristol sport? You cannot, I guess, shy away from the disappointments, the moanings from fans on a weekly basis about the kit shop. Let's not deny some of the faux pas that have been made in the past. Can you assure fans that moving forward, things are going to get better?
would be very easy for me to sit here and say that retail sits within Bristol Sport and it's not a club issue, but actually, like, we have to start taking accountability, because that retail represents our brand. And I hope you guys have seen that even over the last 6 to 8 weeks, we've introduced some of the classic leisure wear lines. There's going to be a lot more variety to the ranges in store. It's not perfect, and it absolutely needs to improve. And I appreciate that there has been some frustrations for supporters, but we are working much more closely now with the retail unit at Bristol Sport, because it has to be better, and not just there. Both with our queues around concourses, options and concessions, us working really closely with Ashton Gate to provide a great product. Like, it's a work in progress, but we are 100% committed to making it better.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all sort of listeners and fans.
Miles is happy.
I'm happy.
That's
we'll come back in a year's time if it hasn't improved.
Right. I feel, Tom. I'm looking at me clock with 53 minutes we've done.
Blimey.
And we really appreciate that.
The baby's going to be waiting down.
Actually, Tom's like, no, do another 53. That's fine. So actually, your wife has just rung me and said he's expected home quite soon. So we have some quick fires. It's probably a bit harsh on you, because these are like random ones that I've come up with.
Okay.
Go.
And if you can't answer it, you can pass.
Okay. Fine.
So first one, you've said famously in that 2022 article that you fans should be allowed to boo kicks. If you had the power to scrap or reinvent one other long-standing rugby tradition, what would it be and why?
Oh, goodness me, good question. I would end the reset scrum.
Yeah.
I'd just go straight in.
Like it.
No reset.
I think that you've played to the crowd there.
I love that.
He's played to the audience, hasn't he?
It's got to be quick.
Apart from those 35 stone. Anyway, you play it. Right, second one. You have talked famously in the same article, talks about rugby needing to embrace show business. If the Bears were putting on a Netflix, and other obviously streaming companies are available, Netflix documentary tomorrow, what storyline or character would be in the headline?
I think it's got to be. I think it would be Maxwell Heathwood.
Yeah, of course, obvious. That was a trick question, because if you didn't say him, we'd worry.
Even with all the stardust on display, Maxwell Heath would find a way to come to the forefront.
100%. Okay, this is a funny one. If you gave your supporters, your season card holders, control for one home game, from music to match day experience, what do you think would happen?
I think it would be anarchy.
Yeah, I like it. They'll be running on the pitch. That you wouldn't like that at all, would you? There'll be like pitch invasions.
I think there'd be pitchforks.
It'd be like six Sex Pistols in the 70s.
Yeah. Okay, you have been bold on social media. Not you personally, but the club. Even poking fun at rivals down the road. But if you could collaborate with one Premiership rugby club on a sort of joint stunt or event, and I don't mean Big Day Out, I mean something else, what would it be, and what would you do to kind of generate interest to people who have no idea what rugby's about?
I'd love to do some sort of joint player unveiling with one of the really progressive clubs. Saracens are very good. Yeah. Harlequins are very good. There's a number of clubs now that are understanding their digital much better than the past.
And I think it's fair to say, we'd all agree that we have been, or you, I don't say we've done nothing, but you have been the innovators for social media in the last few years. And I think there's been some absolute classics. And I think other rugby clubs, I guess, they ring you up and say, Tom, what are you doing? Like, can I piggyback on top of you? Final question. And this,
I'm going to tag something on.
Oh, hang on, because my final question is like a really nice wrap up. So I think you need to do your one.
This is a bit of a final question. And from my point of view, 10 teams in the league. How are we going to grow the number of the teams? Who's going to join and when? I understand your position, Tom. I fully get that. But the league in itself, a lot of fans, is broken. When can we see a 12, 13, 14 team league in this league? I
think that's a great question. And naturally, that's something that the clubs and the league are talking about a lot at the moment. There's obviously, you've seen in the news, there's talk about franchising. There's conversations around what happens with the regions in Wales and the possibility of an Anglo-Welsh competition in the future. To be completely transparent, there isn't really a definitive direction yet. But I think there is a recognition that we need more teams competing at the highest level. The unfortunate reality is that arguably in the second tier in the championship, there isn't a team that's ready-made, oven-baked, that has the ability to step up.
Yeah, I think we understand that.
So we're not quite there yet with a team or an organisation that's sort of nipping at the heels to join Prem Rugby. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in Wales and how that develops over the next couple of years. But certainly for the short term, and when I say short term, I mean the 3-year cycle of the broadcast deal, and with Prem Rugby with the new rebrand, it's in a solid place. So it will be a league that is compelling and teams will want to join, which is a complete shift from where it was perhaps a couple of years ago.
Right then, unless I have one, I think this is a wrap-up question.
Go for it, Pete.
Right.
So, as you've told us, you've had your first child, Otto. 20 years time, Otto is, well, he won't be googly, he'll be like speaking into it. Otto, ask AI, tell me about the Tainton era at Bristol Bears. What do you think Otto will find, what AI will tell him about what you've achieved as a CEO?
Well, I hope that I'm part of a period for the club where we are successful and we win trophies, that we grow our audience, but ultimately we make people happy and make Bristol fans proud of their club. And that's continuing to do work in the community. That's providing a platform for young women and girls with our women's rugby team, and just showing that we as an organisation care and are willing to be different. And I will just sign off by saying that I think it's podcasts like this and platforms like this that are really, really important. And it's a testament to you guys that you've obviously been doing it for so long and you've built an audience, but actually like this is fundamental to the success of the rugby club, that there are fans that are willing to challenge, that are interested, that will support when it's right to support, and understand what we're trying to do. So we're really grateful to the podcast and to all the listeners, because I've said it a number of times tonight, we don't always get everything right, but I can guarantee that what we are doing, we are trying to do it for the right reasons.
And I just want to add, Tom, I honestly thought you were going to come here today and give us the corporate spiel. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but looking you in the eye, and as we're sat around this table, I've got more hope for Bristol Bears' future. And I know that you're someone who's going to change the game. Left field thinking. And do you know what? I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think our listeners will love it as well. So I came here actually thinking you're going to be in a firing squad. But actually, I think collectively we're all on the same boat at the end of the day, aren't we?
Exactly.
Yeah, we absolutely love the club.
Exactly.
And thank you so much for turning up for us. And we love it. Thank you.
Great.
I think on that note, Lee, I mean, when Lee's got tears in his eyes, I think it's time.
I think he needs a toilet.
I think we need to wrap it, because I actually now need to go to the toilet. But Tom, as we said, really appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing what happens in the season ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, John. Really appreciate it.
Okay, boys. Well, Tom has now left the building. We big thanks to Tom. He spent over an hour talking to us, and that's fantastic. We felt as though we needed to just do a little bit more just after he'd gone. First thing I'd like to say, and I'm sure you endorse that, is we are sitting in what feels like a pod studio. We've got 4 new mics, we've got 4 microphone stands, we've got a mixer, we've got an amplifier. Lee hasn't got a clue what any of that means, but what is important, and Lee does understand, is that
we're still in a pub.
Well, we're in a lock-in, but thanks to the generosity of our fans, having myself done a crowdfunder, we've now got this equipment which is portable. I hope it gives a little bit more clarity. And I don't know about you boys, but talking to Tom, it felt like we were kind of growing into the interview because we had serious stuff in front of us.
I mean, to me personally, it felt like, back in the day when we were up at BBC Studios.
Jeff Twentyman.
Oh, absolutely.
With Sir Jeff.
Yeah.
It felt really good. And, it's like I could hear Miles,
without crisps.
I love
it.
The fact that, when Miles is talking, he uses his hands as well. It's like Tony fucking Blair, isn't it? But obviously that won't come across in
No, absolutely.
So
audio.
there will be some more follow-up to say thank you for all the people that contributed. And the reason we haven't said anything so far is because we weren't sure we knew how to use it all and whether it would actually ever happen.
I think you're right, Pete. I mean, I can see flashing green lights, but we just do not know if it's actually recorded.
But we feel confident that something's happened. So one of the things we would announce is for all of those people and who did contribute, and you know who you are out there, we were given James Dunn's European shirt from the game when he played against Clermont Auvergne.
What a game.
And as some of you will know, obviously James Dunn helped us review the season. Now, James Dunn gave us his European shirt and as he said, it was one of the greatest games he's been involved with. And I can also reveal that I don't think it got washed either.
I can definitely reveal it didn't get washed. It actually slept at my house. I slept with it.
So it definitely hasn't been washed.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to get all the names together and we're going to do some sort of raffle. And somebody who contributed, one of the number of people who did, will win James Dunn's European shirt.
So we're going to put all the names in a hat, basically, aren't we?
I'm going to write the names out, chop them up, and put them in a hat. Literally going to put our names out. I mean, we could do it on a ChatGPT or whatever, but I'm going to literally. No. I think we should film it as well. Should we film it?
I think we should.
We could film it, and then it could be our introduction to our brand new launch TikTok.
And we should say we really appreciate everyone that actually
massively,
absolutely,
gave us money. And but one thing I will say, it doesn't matter how much you actually invest into us. The names all go in a hat. So if you literally invested a $5 or 50,
And also, can I categorically state that Miles, I was in control of the money. Miles didn't get his hands on it to put it in his offshore account in the Cayman Islands.
He wanted to spend it at Fortnum and Mason.
Miles said, I'll manage the finances for you. I would have got
one bar of soap in Fortnum and Mason, let's face it. Now, I'd just like to reiterate the boys. We really, really appreciate the crowdfunding that Pete instigated. Fans really generously put together. And dare I say, we may have no more Crispgate, Raingate,
Peanutgate.
No, Miles. I think the thing is, people quite like that. It's just going to be a clearer, crisper sound.
So Pete's saying you can still eat peanuts, Miles.
You can if you want. Okay. I mean, we did the old opening the cans with Tom just now. So, right. Couple of things, boys. We haven't got time because we've got to go home. But I mean, we've got one game starting next week. Premiership Rugby Cup game. We don't really know what the team's going to be like. It's kind of like a pre-season. The only thing I would say is I went to the open training session last week, the week before, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very gentle training session, I've got to say. I did see our mate Dunny, had a picture with him. I think I sent you that picture.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Dunny was like signing autographs, and then he stopped the whole thing and said, "Hang on, boys, I've just got to wait a minute," and came over to me. Little thumbs up, the little photo where you point to each other, classic. Then went back to his job. But I couldn't really glean much from that, to be honest. Most of the big boys, like the internationals, weren't there. Lewis Rees-Zammit was there. I got to say, he looks like a specimen. He had tanned, because he'd come from Florida.
He's been in Florida.
He had very, very tanned legs. As the woman next to me said,
he does look like. No offense to you boys, but he does look a little bit like a middle class.
Oh, but he's Cardiff. He's Cardiff.
He's Cardiff
boy.
Exactly, but he should be middle class.
But he did have. He was. What I quite liked about him, no airs and graces. Yeah, just seemed to be getting stuck in with the boys. They did a very gentle warm up.
I mean, I know Tom alluded to how excited he was.
He did say the word alluded as well.
About the signing, but how excited were we to see that? Whether it be a year or 2 years or something, we didn't really see that coming, did we? And I'm super excited, and I'd like to say that he's already looks to be fully engaged in the club fan engagement. I think it's going to be a brilliant year.
And I think we should also acknowledge 2 new signings. So
some Tom didn't mention.
So we didn't get around to that, but the Talent ID Day that was done in the summer, which I think maybe some of us thought was a little bit of a PR exercise. Well, they've signed 2 blokes, 2 young lads from that, and fair play, because as you said right in the interview, right at the start, Lee, is that we're going to rely on local young people, and it's good to see the club did actually do something on the back of that Talent ID Day. And also we should mention, I mean, signings wise, we got Tom Jordan. I mean, Tom went on about it. Tom Jordan. I have already forgotten.
Luka Ibish, yeah.
The big Jordan, now be known as the big Georgian lad. And obviously we got
and the big Argentinian,
Argentinian lad. But also, I think we should recognise we had the 2 guys,
and Max Pepper from Newcastle,
and who we got? We got the Georgian lad. We've got
Pedro
Tom Jordan.
was last season.
Pedro was last season. The Georgian lad, Max Pepper. And there are listeners out there going, how can you not remember it? Anyway, we have had about 4 pints.
Been a long evening,
And also we should say the 2 guys from Bucks, the 2 university guys who look on the YouTube. Mind you, we've been down that route before of people looking good on YouTube, haven't we? Do you remember the old TJ Fisher, or whatever it was, and the old the American guy that was
Paranath.
I can't remember. Someone will know. You can't always rely on YouTube, can you? But anyway, we'll see. So apart from that, boys, I think we're going to call it a day. We don't really have much to say. No. And obviously, first proper game of the season, the Sunday.
Sunday 28th, 3:05 p.m.
Which annoyingly for us is a Sunday game, which means are we going to do a pod straight after that?
Yeah, of course we are.
Of course we will.
Minimal beers, maximum.
Well, no, I don't think minimal beers comes into it, Miles. But anyway.
Minimal beers.
Yeah. Anyway, I think on that note, pissed. I think it's Wait a second. Hang on, Lee.
Start of the season, so we're good to go, aren't we?
Yeah,
we're in.
We're in. Yeah,
that's it. Thank you very much, Tom Tainton.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, and everybody out there. It's been a long time, but have a good week. Stay safe, and 1, 2, 3.